A couple of days ago I was watching a video by Robert Kennedy, and he mentioned in it that all-cause mortality had increased by 40% in the USA. And I thought, that's a big figure, but then I wondered what it was here in New Zealand. So I had a quick look and I was amazed by what I saw. So what I want to do in this video is to end up with that, but first of all I just want to go over some of the basic graphs that we've run before just to catch up. So we're starting off with the excess mortality for this year, 2022. You can see it there on the screen now. And you can see it looks extremely large. And if you think it looks large, it is because it is large. Now, the question is, why are these things happening? So here again, I've got the graph for coughs and flus here in New Zealand. As you can see, it goes right up to October, whereas excess mortality graph goes up to the mid-September. And if I just take out this year's graph from the background graphs and then overlay it with this year's excess mortality, you can see there's a pretty strong correlation. So it does seem that a lot of the extra deaths that we've had this year relate to flus or coughs and flus and colds and so forth. But why this year? Why not previous years? Why has it all of a sudden happened? So these are the questions that need answers. And if you take the excess mortality back a couple of weeks, you can see there's an even stronger correlation. The peaks actually happen up here. You can see the peaks correlate. This minor peak correlates, and these over here also correlate. So there's a strong correlation between those two things. But then what happens if we put on the vaccination program? Well, I did that last time, and again, I just squeeze it up to the left and then overlay it. As you can see, again, it lines up very well. The coughs and flus here. The second booster is here, and it correlates well with the spike here of excess mortality. As you can see, the first booster over here, and there's a correlation there as well. And then what about the deaths of COVID-19? So there's the COVID-19 deaths up to October this year. If I squeeze those down and then overlay the same graph, you can see that again there is quite a strong correlation. Excess mortality has increased at the same time as the COVID deaths have happened. In this case here, the COVID deaths seem to be lagging the wider deaths, although the vaccination program is up here, most of it. And then when this booster happened over here in July, August this year, there seemed to be not only a real surge in COVID deaths, but also a real surge in excess mortality deaths. And you can see there's quite a big difference between the two peaks. And the question is, why did this difference happen? So let's think about excess mortality year by year. Is this year any different from previous years? Well, this is 2022 up to week 38, which is mid-September. But what if we go back to previous years? Now, these are pencil outline graphs from all the previous years, so we can pull them out one at a time. So if we go back to 2011, you can see it was a very small excess mortality excess. The blue means we did really well, whereas the orange means we didn't do that well. And you can see the average is around 600 over here on the left. You can see the average is about 600 deaths per week for most years. That's the average we're looking at. That's where it peaks at about 600 by the looks of it as being the average. 2012, it doesn't look too bad also. 2013, it's pretty good. 2014, starting to get worse. 2015, it's growing a bit more. 2016, yeah, it's okay. 2017, huge, a big, huge spike there, and I'll get back to that in a minute. 2018, it drops down again. 2019, it's growing again, quite large. And 2020, which was our COVID year without COVID, it was quite low, which is to be expected because we had no flu that year. And then 2021, which was our vaccine year, and you can see that the bump here that happened coincided with the vaccination program, coincidentally maybe, who knows. And then 2022, this year, you can see it just beats all other years hands down. It's way bigger, and it's comparing with 2010, 2019 over here, the excess mortality. So this year, 2022, how does it compare to the other years? Well, in the young age, 0 to 14 years, it hasn't been too bad. In fact, it's been very good. We're 5% down. So the good news is that extra all-cause mortality numbers don't seem to be affecting our children, which is great. And maybe they have lesser of a vaccination program, and that's why. But if you look at the middle-aged people over here, there's been a 10% increase. Teenagers and middle-aged and young adults, 10% increase. And if you look down through the years, the only time it came close was back in 2011. Don't ask me what happened in 2011. But for most years it was negative. There were good years. There were a couple of poor years here in 2018 and 17. Again, we'll get back to 2017. But 2022 is worse than any previous year. And then if you look at the total deaths over the years, 24%, a quarter extra all-cause mortality deaths in 2022. And if you look down through the years, there's only 1 or 2 years that came close. Last year came close. Again, it was a COVID year, some COVID deaths there, but not many. Again, the question is why that year? I'm not quite sure. Although the vaccine program happened that year. So there was quite a strong vaccine program during half the year. So it may or may not be affected, but that's just something to consider. And of course 2017, which was that big bumper year. And there it is there, 2017, 11.93 extra deaths. And the question is why? And here is the year again, just to remember what it looked like. And here is the reason. 2017 flu season was the deadliest since records began. And this is an article written shortly after, and that's a professor in Australia. It was considered that last year's flu season was the deadliest experienced by Australian and New Zealand hospitals in at least a quarter of a century. It was by far worse than anything they've seen before. Well, until this year, that is. And yet this year, we haven't even been talking about flu. We've been talking about COVID. So we can actually do some other sums here. We can compare 2022 with 2021. And it's down here you can see it's from weeks 1 to 38. So if we do some sums, we can work out the percentage increase. So we can work out the fraction by taking this year's excess mortality, 5524, away from last year's excess mortality, 2678. And then, we've got a figure there, and then if we divide that by last year's excessive mortality, which is 2678, we got a 1.06, multiply by 100 to get a percentage. It's 106% increase on last year. 106% increase. That's amazing. It's a 106% all-cause mortality increase on last year, and that's more than double the highest number ever. And the question is why? And what figure is that? Well, we've got to also take away the COVID deaths to get the real figure. So there's the figure there, 5524 excess deaths so far this year. That's why 3 months still left to go, October, November, December. And so we take 5524 and we take away, and this is from the Ministry of Health website, we take away their figure there, 1,972. And we end up with another figure, which is 3,552 unexplained deaths so far this year. 3,500 unexplained deaths. So the question is, why these unexplained deaths? But New Zealand, 100% increase excess deaths this year. That's just mind-blowing. I mean, why are so many people dying? The government needs to look at this. We need to find out answers to these questions, and it's time for an inquiry. Again, we need an inquiry into this. Thanks for considering this. Bye.